Minecraft 1.21 has just been released. Here are all of the new features that have been added in this update. Firstly, we have a feature that's great for the farm enthusiasts among you, the crafter block. This brand new block allows you to automate the crafting process with redstone and lets you toggle the slots in the crafting grid for ingredient placement, allowing for hoppers to load them in specific shapes. When a redstone pulse is sent to the block, it will craft the item that the recipe for is present within the crafting grid. Next up, we've got the brand new structure, the trial chambers. The new structures include parkour challenges, PvP arenas with challenging fights, various loot vaults and more. Now unfortunately we don't have time to cover this in depth in this video. However, be sure to subscribe because next week we'll be releasing a video covering it in detail. If you're watching this in the future, it'll be in the top right of your screen now. Alongside the trial chambers, we do have a few new item introductions that somewhat go hand in hand with the chambers themselves. For example, the trial spawner, which is a new type of spawner that adapts to the number of players present. The ominous trial spawner, which is similar to the normal one, however is only activated if a player has a bad omen effect. If so, it'll summon more difficult bosses. As well as these, we have the trial key and ominous trial key, which are gained from defeating mobs from the respective spawners. These keys are used to open the new vault block, which is a type of loot crate that can drop a variety of new items, among them being the heavy core. Combining the heavy core with one of the new mob drops, which I'll get to shortly, you'll receive a brand new melee weapon, the mace. If used correctly, this new weapon is the most powerful in the game. From a standard critical hit, it deals 9 attack damage or 4.5 hearts. However, the damage the mace can do scales depending on the height the player falls from before hitting an entity. The damage graph for the mace, depending on the fall height, is on screen now. The mace also comes with a few new enchants. On top of the ones that can be applied to basically all weapons and tools, such as Unbreaking and Mending, there's also Breach, which allows the mace to ignore a target's armour up to a certain point, increasing 15% with each level with a maximum level of 4. Wind Burst, which creates a wind charge-like effect upon landing a successful strike, knocking enemies back and launching the player into the air. The strength increases again depending on the level, up to a maximum of 3. And finally Density, which makes the mace deal an additional 1 damage point for every block fallen by the player before striking an entity, with a maximum level of 5. 1.21 also introduces a couple of new mobs or mob variants, the first of which is the Breeze. Spawned by certain trial spawners within the trial chamber, the Breeze is somewhat similar to the Blaze looks wise, however works slightly differently. When attacking an entity or player, a Breeze moves by jumping large distances and attacks by firing wind charges, which deal high knockback. It can repel all projectiles, taking no damage from them. When a Breeze is killed, it'll drop the Breeze Rod. Now on its own, this item isn't really that useful. However, if you were to put it in a crafting table, you'd receive 4 wind charges. The wind charge is a projectile, similar to the fire charge, however it can be launched by the player without the need for a dispenser. Instead of setting a subject on fire though, the wind charge will give a great amount of knockback and deal 6 damage or 3 hearts. Combining the wind charge with the use of the mace, you'll be able to deal a fair amount of damage to an entity if used correctly. Now you may remember not too long ago I mentioned that there was a couple of new mobs and mob variants, obviously one of them being the Breeze, but following on from that we have the Bogged. The Bogged is a variant of a skeleton which can be found in the swamp biome. The main change between this and the standard skeleton, excluding the obvious visual changes, is that when the Bogged shoots an entity, the arrows it shoots are poisoned arrows. They can also be found in trial chambers. Alongside these changes, we've also received a few smaller additions to the game, starting off with new armor trims and smithing templates, those being the flow and bolt trims and templates. Then we have 2 new banner patterns, flow and guster, on top of 3 new pottery shards, scrape, guster and flow. 1.21 also introduces 4 new potions and potion effects, the first of which is the infested effect. Entities with this effect will have a 5% chance to spawn 1 to 2 silverfish when damaged, and naturally silverfish are immune to this effect. The oozing effect will cause entities to spawn slimes upon death, and again slimes cannot get this effect. Next is the weaving effect, which will cause entities to spawn cobwebs upon their death. All entities with this effect, excluding the player, can walk through cobwebs freely without a slowness effect. Although players will still benefit, they'll just receive a somewhat reduced slowness effect. The final new potion effect is Wind Charged. This effect will cause entities to emit a wind burst upon death. Now last but not least, we've also seen the addition of 20 new in-game paintings, all of which are on screen now. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for in this video. However, if you'd like to see more content covering the 1.21 update, as well as all future updates to the game, be sure to subscribe, as over the next couple of weeks we'll be taking a closer look at some of the new features or game mechanics. Thanks for watching.